A continuación presentamos al último expositor de esta jornada. Él es Carlos Passarelli, doctor en psicología clínica, quien trabaja en políticas relacionadas a la prevención del SIDA, propiedad intelectual y acceso a medicinas. Actualmente, Carlos es director de la organización ONUSIDA para Argentina, Chile, Paraguay y Uruguay. Con ustedes, Carlos Passarelli.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
¿Están preparados y
Are
preparadas
you
para un portuñol?
ready for a bit of Portuñol,
Espero que
mixture
sí.
of Portuguese and Spanish? I hope so.
Bueno, primero agradecer la invitación.
First, I'd like to thank
que
the
hicieron a
invitation
ONUSIDA para poder
of
presentar
UNAIDS to UNAIDS for this Congress, which we believe it's very important.
Para hablar justamente de una de las
Rightfully one of the
aspiraciones
aspirations of the United States, which has to do with ending the HIV disease as and created as an issue of public health. For a while now, we started talking about the end of the HIV or AIDS epidemic with the new treatment technologies, the new opportunities for people who are infected with the virus, and with all the organizations, mobilization of resources for this epidemic means that 5 or 6 years ago now that people started talking about this. We have the instruments, for example, we have the know-how to be able to end with this drastic problem. In this sense, when countries met in 2015 to mention the objectives of sustainable development, some targets for countries and incentives to try and end the epidemic of AIDS as a concern of public health for 2030. So the targets that we say have of 90%, it means that 90% of people in the world can learn about the diagnosis of HIV, and once they know the diagnosis, 90% can have access to treatment, and 90% of people who are undergoing treatment can have the undetectable condition, but detectable. If we look at 30 years ago, when we're in the Congress of the Future, although we have to look behind to see what has happened, but back then it was much more complex. The epidemic appeared in the 80s, around the 80s, this outbreak, and immediately it was loaded with stigmas and discrimination. The gay cancer, that's how they used to call it, the pink cancer. A disease of marginal people, homosexuals, people who use drugs, who are sexual promiscuous, people who didn't have a status as of a citizen, for example. And people affected by the disease, and their friends and colleagues, and families started organizing themselves, and they started saying, no more. We can't just keep quiet about this. We have to expose this. We have to mention our needs, because silence equals death. We cannot keep quiet, remain quiet. Therefore, we have to raise information, because to remain in ignorance is just to feed for fear, the intolerance, and feeding rejection as well. There was someone, the first director of the programs, the HIV, of the WHO, he was called Jonathan Mann, and this gentleman, who no longer is with us, proposed a model, a sort of a stance where 3 levels of vulnerability were defined. He used to say that we had the virus, and there were different types of being vulnerable to this virus. One of the levels was vulnerability which is individual.
Eso que tiene que ver con el
This which has to do with
comportamiento, que
behavior,
tiene que ver con la
which has to do with
biología.
biology.
Por ejemplo, hoy
For
se
example,
sabe desde siempre que
we
las
always have known
mujeres
that women
tienen una
have
predisposición mayor
a higher
para la
predisposition
infección por el
for
VIH
infection
que los
of
hombres,
the
¿no? Es
HIV
predisposición
than men,
biológica.
because it's a biological reason.
Las formas de
Now, the
transmisión del
way of
virus,
sexual
por el contacto sexual, el
transmission,
contacto con la sangre,
used by
la
sexual
transfusión
transmission
de
or blood
sangre.
transmission, blood
Entonces,
transfusion,
eso
for
es la-
example,
es lo que
that's
tiene que ver con
what
el
has to do with
individual.
the individual side.
Pero también hay una
But also there's a certain
vulnerabilidad
social
que tiene que ver con
vulnerability
el
which has to do with the
contexto donde uno
context
está
where one
ubicado.
is located as well.
Si yo soy
If I am homosexual, for example, if I'm a drug user, if I'm a sex professional or sex worker, if I'm a
normal, si esto existe en algún lugar. Então, esta maneira de ser, esta maneira
well, this
de
manner
estar
of being, this way of
dentro da sociedade,
being within society,
vai a generar
this will
maior
generate
ou menor vulnerabilidade
major or
frente ao
less
vírus.
vulnerability before the
Pero
virus.
há outro nível, que é o nível programático, da vulnerabilidade
But
programática,
any sort of
que para
programmatic
nós é muito
vulnerability,
importante, que é justamente
which is rightly
como se organiza a
how
sociedade
does society
para
or can
responder a
society
problema de saúde
respond
pública.
an issue of public
Então, se eu
health?
tenho os serviços
How
de
can it
saúde,
organize itself? I've
se
got
eu-
the
ou
healthcare
não tenho os
services,
serviços
or
de
maybe I
saúde.
don't have the
Se eu
organized
tenho
the
as
services.
políticas
If I have the
públicas
public policies for
implementadas, ou se eu não
implementation,
tenho as
or maybe
políticas
I
públicas
don't
implementadas,
have
isso
access
vai
to
me
that
hacer
sort of,
mais
but that's
ou
going to
menos
make
vulnerável
me
à
more
infecção
or
por
less
VIH.
vulnerable to infection
Vai me
of
hacer
via
mais ou menos
HIV.
vulnerável
Was it going to be make me less
a
vulnerable
me enfermar e a
to
morrer.
to have the
Lo
disease
que
and to die?
Jonathan Mann
Now, what
traje
Jonathan Mann
para el
brought
enfrentamento de la
to
epidemia
face
es
this
la perspectiva de
was
los derechos
outbreak
humanos.
was respect for human rights.
No podemos enfrentar
We
el
cannot
SIDA,
face
y yo diría que no
HIV,
podemos enfrentar
AIDS,
ningún tipo de
or
problema
any
social
type of social issue
si no tenemos una
if we do not have a perspective
perspectiva basada en los
based
derechos
on
humanos.
human rights.
Y derechos humanos
And
son la
human
base de la
rights are the
democracia.
basis of democracy.
Y entonces, cuando
And therefore, when
hablamos
we
de
talk about
una enfermedad, un problema de
disease,
salud pública,
an issue of
si
public health,
queremos encontrar la
if we wish to
respuesta,
find the
la
answer,
respuesta está en la democracia,
it's in
la organización
democracy,
social, en que la gente pueda
where people
ter
can actually
acceso
have
a sus
access
derechos,
to their
ter
rights
acceso a
and
los
rights
servicios,
to
ter
services
acceso a
and
la salud,
access
que es un
to
derecho
health,
humano.
which is a human right.
Voy a contarles un poco cómo
I'm going to tell you a
estamos
little bit
hoy
how we are
con
today
el tema de la
with the
epidemia.
issue of this outbreak.
Como les dije antes,
As I have said before,
establecemos esta meta de
we
terminar
established
con la
this
epidemia hasta
objective
2030,
to end with this
y
outbreak till
para
2030,
eso
or this
tenemos
epidemic.
que
And we have to
avanzar con
therefore
el tema de la
progress
prevención y del tratamiento.
preventing and giving
Y en el
treatment.
tema de tratamiento
And on
estamos
treatment,
estamos yendo muy bien.
we are doing pretty well.
Hoy día tenemos más
Now
de
we
la mitad de
have
las personas
half
que
of
viven
people
con VIH
who live
en el
with
mundo
HIV around the
están
world
bajo tratamiento antirretroviral.
who are
Si
on
pensamos que en
retroviral
los años 2000,
treatment.
en
If we
el
think about
inicio
in
de
2000,
este siglo,
at the beginning of this century,
teníamos que solamente
we
como
had
100,000 personas
100,000
que estaban bajo
people who
tratamiento.
were under
Y hoy
treatment.
tenemos como
Now
algo
we
que
have
21, 22 millones de personas en
billions of
tratamiento.
millions and millions of
Avanzamos muy bien
people
con ese
under
tema.
treatment. So we're progressing pretty well on that
Pero
subject.
Esto no
However,
es para todos.
it's not available for
Hoy
all.
día
Today,
tenemos un problema muy serio con los niños
we have
y
a
las niñas
huge issue with
que viven con
boys and
VIH.
girls who live with
Porque el
HIV
tratamiento
because
para esas-
treatment for
para esas personas,
for these
para
people,
niños y
for
niñas,
these children,
todavía está
yet
mucho más acá de lo que sería el ideal.
is not available to all.
América Latina,
Especially in
podemos
Latin America,
decir
we
que
could
en el
say
tema de
that in
tratamiento
treatment,
vamos yendo bien.
we're
Então,
doing well.
tenemos como que unos 81%
We have about
de las
81%
personas
of people,
conocen su diagnóstico.
they know about their
De esas
diagnosis.
personas,
And from these people,
72%
72%
están bajo
are
tratamiento
under treatment,
y casi 80%
and nearly
están bajo
80% are
supresión
under
viral de manera
viral
sostenible.
suppression in a sustainable fashion.
Pero hay algunas desigualdades.
But there are some
Por
inequalities here.
ejemplo,
For example,
en nivel mundial,
at a worldwide level,
y esto también en América Latina
and
se
also
pasa
in Latin
igual,
America, the same thing happens.
Mujeres
Women
mueren menos de
die
SIDA que los hombres.
less than
Y hay
AIDS, with
muchas
AIDS than
razones
men.
para
And there are
eso.
many reasons for this.
Pero la más principal
But the
porque
main
los
reason
hombres
is because
todavía,
men still,
debido a la cultura del
due
machismo,
to
debido a la cultura de-
male chauvinism and that sort of
de no
culture
haber un cuidado
of
consigo
machismo or
propio,
not caring about
no
themselves,
buscan los servicios de salud.
they don't seek in the
Y
areas
también
of
hay
public health.
otro problema que
And there's
los
another
hombres
issue,
que están
is that
infectados con el
men who are
VIH,
infected with
en
HIV,
general, son hombres que pertenecen a
these are
grupos
people who belong to
sociales que
social
están
groups
marginalizados
that are
y que no quieren
marginalized,
exponer.
and they don't want to expose this, and so that's why they don't seek treatment.
Y en América Latina no tenemos.
And in Latin America, we have a geographical inequality as well. It has to do with the social economic positions in each country as well. While Brazil, Chile, Argentina are countries which have a high coverage of retroviral treatment, countries like Guatemala, Paraguay have a very low coverage. So therefore, there's no equality in terms of access to treatment, in terms of the success of this treatment within the region. And another topic which is still yet important is prevention, how to avoid this. There's a sort of there's a certain content for this. People don't really care about the issue of HIV anymore. It's out of the closet now. It's not mentioned anymore. It's not an issue. I don't know anybody who has this, so that way people start to get infected, especially the young. And this is a reality here in Chile and Argentina and Brazil and Europe and the United States. All over. So men who have sex with men, with young men, once again are infecting themselves with HIV in a very concerning numbers. And this has to do with the key populations. I like this term because before there was some sort of discourse of victimization regarding people who lived with HIV. Oh, these people are victims. And people said, no, we're not the victims. We have HIV, but we are the key of the issue. We have the key to tackle this problem and open all the doors and give solutions. And the most affected groups is not the same as the rest of the population. There are groups that are more vulnerable, and if we have a quick view, a focus view in these groups, we will try to obtain the answers. This happens in Africa, Latin America, in Asia, everywhere. People, as I said in the beginning, have level of vulnerabilities that are different. So therefore, we have to create different policies for each specific group if we wish to achieve the end of this epidemic. Another important factor which has to do with our reality is that the answer to HIV is an answer which is paid for by countries and citizens of these countries. I mean, in other words, we do not have in our region, as in Africa or in other regions, external funding for giving response to HIV. We have to pay the bill with our own means.
¿En serio?
And this is a topic which we will see problematic in the near future. Therefore, looking towards the future then, we can say that if we look back, we have done pretty much. We enhanced the coverage from prevention, treatment, primary attention to HIV patients. There was an important reduction of women affected by AIDS. We have more than 20 million people under treatment, retroviral treatments around the world, and also a little bit has improved. I'll say a lot, really. The healthcare, in a general sense, with AIDS, the other sectors improved of the health. But we can do better. We can do more. We continue to have a way of working with AIDS which gives much more importance to medicines, treatment, condoms. I'm not saying that they're not important, they are important, but we have to have we should have a more systemic prevention for this. Now, resources, we employ them pretty well. We have created leaflets and advertising, informative material for groups of people who don't really care. So it will be much more important to create messages for people who are usually exposed to this virus. There's more fragmentation of answers. And in this sense, a fragmentation of resources, and as I said, the resources which are invested in AIDS here in the region are national resources. There's a very harsh competition for these resources. And in a certain manner, we are not tackling what people are vulnerable people doing, and raising the question of inequality. If we continue living in a society characterized by inequality, we will not progress very much. Therefore, we have to rediscuss prevention, and we're talking about combined prevention here. We have to encourage people to seek their diagnosis, motivate people to continue using contraceptives, preservatives, contraception, and we have to look at specific groups. And I'm talking about transgender men who have sex with men, in the Latin American case, for example. And today much is talked about PrEP, which is a drug offered to people who are in major risk. And with this medication, we avoid the transmission of the virus, and we have to treat the people who are infected, because this is a way of preventing the transmission of the virus. Currently, the science tells us that one person who is under treatment does not transmit anymore the virus. And that's very important to know, because to treat people is to prevent this infection to continue spreading. But as I had said before, there is something about financial sustainability to give an answer here in terms of treatment specifically. Yet there are countries as Chile, Argentina, countries of medium income are paying very, very expensive for the treatment, because there is a policy which exists, a regulation which is international, or the international treatments, or treaties, which gives privilege to the productive sectors and not public health. Health is not business, and we cannot continue treating healthcare as if it were a good, a product. No, we have to flexibilize the models of research and development so we can create more efficient products, new drugs, and also accessible to all. If we see what's happening with the issue of hepatitis C, for example, which a North American company created a drug which cures hepatitis C. This drug, the treatment costs $80,000 for treatment for 3 months. So who can pay that? Surely no one. So we have to create mechanisms, we have to make the rules of intellectual property more flexible, the patent rules as well, so people can have access to new technologies which may halt the virus. And this happens because if there is mobilization and manifestations, people have to be mobilized, people have to work together. And this is what we learn with the history of the response to HIV at a worldwide level. There were organizations. People will not just settle there and say, no, there's nothing we can do about it. No, people decided to face the capital, to face the industries, and saying, we want to live. We have the right to live. And together with the topic of rights, there's another issue of zero discrimination and to reduce discrimination and the stigmata related to this transmission of virus. We must guarantee for people, for the groups that are most vulnerable, the spaces within society. And we must have a policy of major tolerance regarding people who are different, people who escape the norm, because the norm is very relative. Thank you very much for your attention.